Hello, and I'm interviewing Mr. Froglore, an expert with cane toads. What is the cane toad and how did it become a problem?
Hi, the cane toad, also known as the giant neotropical toad or marine toad, is a large terrestrial true native toad to South and mainland Central America, but which has been introduced to various islands throughout Oceania and the Caribbean, as well as northern Australia. It is the world's largest toad. The cane toad is a prolific breeder. Females lay single clump spawns of thousands of eggs. Its reproductive success is partly because of opportunistic feeding. It has a diet of both dead and living matter. The cane toad has poison glands, and the tadpoles are highly toxic to most animals if ingested. The toxic skin can kill many animals, both wild and domesticated, and cane toads are particularly dangerous to dogs. Because of its voracious appetite, the cane toad has been introduced to many regions of the Pacific and Caribbean islands as a method of agricultural pest control. The common name of the species is derived from its use against the cane beetle, which damages sugarcane. Historically, the cane toads were used to eradicate pests from sugarcane, giving rise to their common name. The cane toad is now considered a pest and an invasive species in many of its introduced regions. There's a 1998 film, Cane Toads, An Unnatural History, that is still a top 10 bestseller in Australia. It documents the trials and tribulations of the introduction of cane toads in Australia.
Thank you. Can you describe a common cane toad?
The cane toad is a very large toad. The females are significantly longer than males, reaching a typical length of 10 to 15 centimeters, or 4 to 6 inches, with a maximum of 24 centimeters, 9.4 inches. Larger toads tend to be found in areas of lower population density. They have a life expectancy of 10 to 15 years in the wild and can live considerably longer in captivity, with one specimen reportedly surviving for 35 years. The skin of the cane toad is dry and warty. It has distinct ridges above the eyes, which run down the snout. Individual cane toads can be gray, yellowish, red-brown, or olive-brown with varying patterns. A large parotoid gland lies behind each eye. The parotoid glands are responsible for the poison of the cane toad. Typically, juvenile cane toads have smooth, dark skin, although some specimens have a red wash. Juveniles lack the adult's large parotoid glands, so they are usually less poisonous. The tadpoles are small and uniformly black and are bottom dwellers, tending to form schools like fish. Tadpoles range from 10 to 25 millimeters in length. Go.
How are cane toads born?
Yes, the cane toad begins life as an egg, which is laid as part of long strings of jelly and water. A female lays 8,000 to 25,000 eggs at once, and the strings can stretch up to 20 meters or 66 feet in length. The rate at which an egg grows into a tadpole increases with temperature. Tadpoles typically hatch within 48 hours, but the period can vary from 14 hours to almost a week. This process usually involves thousands of tadpoles, which are small, black, and have short tails forming into groups. Between 12 and 60 days are needed for the tadpoles to develop into juveniles, with 4 weeks being typical. Similarly to their adult counterparts, eggs and tadpoles are toxic to many animals.
Thank you. How are cane toads dangerous?
The skin of the adult cane toad is toxic. That means poisonous, as well as the enlarged parotoid glands behind the eyes and other glands across its back. When the toad is threatened, its glands secrete a milky white fluid known as bufotoxin. Components of bufotoxin are toxic to many animals. Even human deaths have been recorded due to the consumption of cane toads. Dogs are especially prone to be poisoned by licking or biting toads. Pets showing excessive drooling, extreme red gums, head shaking, crying, loss of coordination, and/or convulsions require immediately veterinary attention. Bufotenin, one of the chemicals excreted by the toad, is classified as a Class 1 drug under Australian law. The effects of bufotenin are thought to be similar to those of mild poisoning. The stimulation, which includes mild hallucinations, lasts less than an hour. As the cane toad excretes bufotenin in small amounts and other toxins in relatively large quantities, toad licking could result in serious illness or death. Believe it or not, some people lick toads. In addition to releasing toxins, the cane toad is capable of inflating its lungs, puffing up, and lifting its body off the ground to appear taller and larger to a potential predator.
How did cane toads become a problem in Australia?
The cane toad has been introduced to many regions of the world, particularly the Pacific, for the biological control of agricultural pests. The cane toad was introduced to Puerto Rico in the early 20th century in the hope that it would counter a beetle infestation ravaging the sugarcane plantations. The Puerto Rican scheme was successful and halted the economic damage caused by the beetles, prompting scientists in the 1930s to promote it as an ideal solution for controlling agricultural pests. Following the apparent success of the cane toad in controlling the sugarcane beetles of Puerto Rico, a strong push was made for the cane toad to be released in Australia to negate the pests ravaging the Queensland cane fields. As a result, 102 toads were collected from Hawaii and brought to Australia. Queensland's sugar scientists released the toad into cane fields in August 1935. The toads became firmly established in Queensland, increasing exponentially in number and extending their range into the Northern Territory and New South Wales. In 2010, one was found on the far western coast in Broome, Western Australia. However, the toad was generally unsuccessful in reducing the targeted gray-backed cane beetles, in part because the cane fields provided insufficient shelter for the predators during the day, and in part because the beetles live at the top of the sugarcane, and cane toads are not very good climbers. Since its original introduction, the cane toad has had a particularly marked effect on Australian biodiversity. The population of a number of native predatory reptiles has declined, such as the varanid lizards, certain land snakes, and crocodile species. In contrast, the population of the agamid lizard has increased. Cane toads pose a serious threat to native species when introduced to a new ecosystem. Classified as an invasive species in over 20 countries, multiple reports exist of the cane toad moving into a new area to be followed by a decline in the biodiversity of that region. The most documented region of the cane toad's invasion and subsequent effect on native species is Australia, where multiple surveys and observations of the toad's conquest have been completed. Thank you for your interest in the cane toad.
Thank you, Mr. Frogler. Bye.
Bye-bye.